Hello, hello, and welcome to my thought on this very interesting Wednesday. One of the things I was thinking about is how we always think that people who are shy and who are reticent are really sweet people. And I learned that that's not true many, many years ago when my best friend was a basketball player named Dickie Klein. Dickie Klein is now 88. He's a retired dentist, and he would die of shame if he knew that I was talking about him. He lives in Toledo, Ohio. You can find him. He's lovely. But I used to talk to Dickie Klein every single night when I was at the University of Michigan, away from my family. Not that I like my family, but it was security out in the cold, cruel world. And I was very self-conscious, very afraid of new things, very afraid to try things. And people always thought that was very sweet and very adorable. But it isn't. It's a false uh, inferiority complex, and it would come out in other ways. For example, with my fury at my mother, with my insistence on blaming everybody else for my unhappiness. And every night I would talk to Dickie, and I would talk about how I was afraid I wouldn't get good grades, and I was afraid of this, and I was afraid of that, and how I didn't have a boyfriend, and how I wanted a boyfriend, and how I didn't have a girlfriend, and how I wanted a girlfriend. And one night we were talking, and Dickie was a basketball player, and I'm convinced that athletes have a lot less aggression. They're a lot more content with who they are than I think the rest of us. And he was just a very grounded human being. And I've often told him that in reality he saved my life because I was so desperately unhappy that I think I would have done something to take my life. But I didn't because I had him to talk to every night. And I loved our conversation, just loved it. I used to sit in a phone booth. I used to sit on the floor and just sit and talk to him for hours. So one day, I was telling him that they were having a mixer, which is the way we used to meet people. We didn't have dating sites then, and we didn't have speed dating, not at all. So we used to have to go to mixers. And you went by yourself, or you went with a bunch of other girls, and you hoped to meet a boy. And maybe they would take you to a movie, maybe they would take you out for an ice cream soda. This is 1952. Maybe they would hold your hand. You never knew. And they were called cocktail parties. Cocktail, because we drank Coca-Cola. We drank a lot stronger beverages than that, but we didn't admit to it, and we called it cocktail parties. So I was telling Dickie that they were having a big mixer at his fraternity house, but I didn't want to go. And Dickie said, "Why don't you want to go?" And I said, "Well, because if I walk in there, everybody's going to stare at me, and I don't want that to happen." And he said, "How can you be so self-centered?" I said, "What?" This is the one thing I'm not. I said, "How can you think I'm self-centered?" He said, "Why do you think that when you walk into a room, everybody's going to look at you? What makes you think that you're that big a center of attention and that big an attraction?" Because the truth is that every single person in that room is worried about what you think of them. That took a little to soak in. It took a little to soak in. And then all of a sudden I realized everyone there, especially at something like a mixer, where you're all going to meet people, is very insecure and very worried about what you think of them. And after that, I never pass somebody on the street that I has obviously made an effort. I always say something nice. I always say that somebody looks nice if they do, and sometimes even if they don't, because I'm never afraid to go into a room alone, because I know that nobody's going to pay any attention to me. They're all worried about what I think of them. And that's my thought for this Wednesday. And thank you for joining me.